Hello, my name is Scott Smith. I serve as the superintendent for Cedar Springs Public Schools. I appreciate the fact that you took a little bit of your time out of your day to learn a little bit more about the upcoming Building and Site Sinking Fund election scheduled for November 2, 2021. What I'm going to do today is just walk through a series of slides detailing some of the key points about the upcoming Building and Site Sinking Fund election, and then open up some time at the end of the conversation to give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you may have about this or any of the other activities or events happening around the district. So first of all, in terms of the sinking fund and really how we strategically look at all of our facilities and all of our resources, first and foremost, we want to make sure that the student experience is at the forefront of our thinking. So that's the number one priority for us at all times. The second thing is really around safety and security. We want to make sure that our facilities are safe and secure for our students, our staff, and our guests when they're on campus. Lastly, we want to be good stewards of the resources that we've been given. And so we want to make sure that we've got plans in place that enable us to extend the life cycle, extend the life of the facilities that we have by making sure that we're taking good care of them throughout their use over time. And so what we want to talk about today is a sinking fund versus a millage. So a sinking fund is really a separate tax levy that's designed to provide funding for safety improvements, technology improvements, and repairs to buildings and properties. What we're asking voters to approve on November 2 of 2021 is not a new tax. Actually, the voters in the Cedar Springs community initially approved a sinking fund back in 2012. And that was a 10-year 1 mil tax that voters have been paying to help the district take care of ongoing maintenance and facility needs that we have had over the course of the last 10 years. So it's not a new tax, it's really an extension of the tax that was passed back in 2012. So the actual cost of this tax, if passed for our voters, is a 1 mil tax. So for every $1,000 of taxable value you have as a homeowner, you'll pay $1 for the sinking fund. So if your house is worth $300,000, then your taxable value is likely somewhere in the vicinity of $150,000. You would pay $150 in an annual tax to the district. So similarly, if your house was worth $150 or $150,000, then you would pay, your taxable value is roughly $75,000. You'd pay $1 per 1,000, or you'd pay about $75 a year for this sinking fund tax. And so the other big difference between a sinking fund and a millage or a bond, with a bond, we borrow money. With a sinking fund, it's really more of like a savings account that you think about as a homeowner or as a property owner. So think about a bond being similar to a home equity line of credit or a home equity loan, where you borrow money against the value of your house. You're actually paying interest on those dollars. We pay interest on bond dollars. We don't pay interest on sinking fund dollars. And so things that we can use sinking fund dollars for, they're allowable. And it's by law. It's not things that are ruled, but by law, we can use sinking fund dollars to construct new facilities on school property. We can repair existing school facilities and property. We can implement safety upgrades and security upgrades, and we can also purchase technology with sinking fund dollars. Things that are not allowed, things that are not allowed with sinking fund dollars, we can't use them for routine maintenance on facilities. We can't pay benefits and wages with sinking fund dollars. We can't purchase furniture and other equipment that has a shorter life cycle. And lastly, we can't purchase regular instructional materials with sinking fund dollars. So they're very prescriptive in terms of what you can and what you cannot use sinking fund dollars for. So think of sinking fund dollars as really being things that, we have long-term needs, and you can use sinking fund dollars that will provide that long-term investment. So the sinking fund, how is a sinking fund different than the bond that was passed in August of 2020? That's a great question. Many people asked that question before we had the bond vote in August of 2020. A school building and site bond. So it's a specific set of projects. We've identified these things that we're going to do. We've asked the voters to approve those bonds. We've got it approved by Treasury in Lansing. All of those things are very set in stone before you actually go to the voters to ask them if they would be willing to support that proposal. It's a large amount of immediate funding to accomplish significant tasks from a capital perspective. So again, think about the bond as being similar to a mortgage on your house. You want all that money up front so that you can pay the owner of the home for the property. And so similarly with a bond, we're going to borrow those dollars, we're going to invest in our schools, and then we're going to pay those dollars back over time. So we repay those bonds by a tax, by a debt levy over a series of 20 to 30 years. With a sinking fund, however, remember that a sinking fund is very similar to your savings account. So you're going to set aside some money each year, and then you're going to take a look at what you need to accomplish, and you're going to prioritize that list, and then you're going to tackle those things on the list as you're able to afford them. So the sinking fund, you can use a sinking fund to address a wide array of needs over time. There is some flexibility over time. You can have a project list that you want to try to tackle, but really it's about addressing those needs as they come up over time. The funds are levied each year, so there's a steady flow of cash and of funding over the course of time. So it'd be a 10-year window again, and there's no repayment. So we wouldn't pay any interest on those sinking fund dollars. The funds are only levied as and they're only available as the taxes are levied on the property owners. So really, sinking funds allow the district to maintain those smaller projects and repairs as they become necessary, where the bond allows us to do large-scale projects to our capital program. So what have we used the sinking funds for over the last 10 years? So, one of the things that's most visible to visitors on campus is the turf replacement and upgrades to Red Hawk Stadium. You'll also look and see secure entrances in all of our buildings with the exception of Cedar View and Beach Elementary School. Those two entrances are going to be addressed with bond dollars. Replacement of several antiquated gym floors. We've done targeted replacement of flooring across the district, repaving of parking lots and campus roadways, LED lighting in buildings throughout the district, and then boiler replacement and repairs as needed throughout the district. So, for example, Cedar View has a new boiler, well, not new, it was purchased 5 years ago. We use sinking funds to pay for that boiler at the time because we didn't have a bond and we needed to replace the boiler in order to keep the building warm. And so those are the types of things that you use a sinking fund for. It's that savings account that you can go to and take dollars out to pay for those key big projects as they come up. And this would cover us for the next 10 years. So sinking fund plans, things that we're planning to do with dollars in the future. In addition to setting some dollars aside for those key initiatives, we do have some visions for sinking fund dollars to really help enhance the program and enhance our capital, our campus experience for our students and community members, really starting off around the idea of wellness. So a couple things that we see ourselves wanting to put into play with sinking fund dollars. First, the creation of a campus-wide fitness trail, a place for students and athletes to use on a regular basis to do their running. Right now, one of the many complaints that I hear from community members is concern over our cross-country students running out on back roads throughout the community. One of the visions that we have is to create a wellness trail that would be able to be self-contained on campus. And we could create, a 5K loop and a 10K loop between the main campus that we have and the middle school campus. So we really see some neat possibilities along those lines. We also see the enhancement to our elementary recreation program, our outdoor rec program for elementary school students, by adding pickleball courts over in the vicinity of our elementary schools. One of the things that we did last year in response to COVID-19 and the pandemic was shift our thinking in terms of how our students got those exploratory classes or those encore classes at the elementary level. Rather than going to an art class, a music class, a phys ed class, and rotating those on a regular basis, what we did was we created an outdoor rec program where students would have experiences with physical activities outside, art programs outside, music programming outside. So we really see the possibilities of expanding that program. In order to do that, in order to make that happen, we'd really be needing some additional spaces for those students to have those classes and have those experiences. So pickleball courts at the elementary level would be a great addition, and we'd use our sinking fund dollars for that project. We need to replace the track at the stadium. If you've been to an event lately, what you'll see is when we've had a lot of rain, we get these bubbles that are occurring across and around the track surface. So we've got a break in the adhesion between the top coat and the base coat of the track. Tracks, like our roads, are not built to last forever. They do have a lifespan. You can resurface the track. We've done that once, but really we're at a place now where it's time. We have to remove the track and put down a whole new base layer and then put down a new surface layer. And we don't have the dollars in our general fund to pull off that project without impacting the general fund budget. And we also don't have dollars in that project or in our bond project to do the track. That was not on the list of things that we asked the state to be able to do with our bond dollars. And so we really need a sinking fund for that track replacement. The baseball and softball fields are in need of some significant renovation and also the addition of irrigation. And so we'd be doing that at both of those spaces. We'd really like to build up the quality of that turf, that grass field just east of Cedar View. Currently, our teams and other community teams use that space for soccer, but there are really a number of things that we could do with that green space if we had some work done to the soil and also included and added irrigation. So we'd really like to see some enhancements made at that space. Our tennis courts at the high school are in need of some attention and work, and so we'd build those repairs into the sinking fund. We'd like to see the addition of some new playground structures at all of our elementary schools that have that fitness base or that wellness base focus. And then lastly, just encouraging our students to drink more water during the day for wellness, and replacing the drinking fountains that we currently have in buildings with water refill stations. So one aspect of the project list for the sinking fund would be around this idea of student and community wellness. Obviously, all of these things are intended for students to use during the day, but the nice benefit, really with the exception of the drinking fountains in the buildings, community members would really benefit from all of these projects as well. Next, we have some ideas around enhancing our educational program. So one is being able to upgrade our district technology on an annual basis. Also doing some enhancements to our technology infrastructure. One of the pieces that we did last year, again during the pandemic, was we moved forward with an initiative to provide each of our students with their own device. So all of our students, grades pre-K through 12, have their own computer. And In order to roll something like that out, you really need a replacement plan in order to sustain that type of one-on-one initiative. Our idea is to give students a new Chromebook when they enter 6th grade, and then another new Chromebook when they enter 9th grade. So the lifespan of a Chromebook is projected to be anywhere from 3 to 4 years, 3 to 5 years in length, depending on how well they're maintained and taken care of. So the idea by giving a student a new Chromebook in 6th grade and a new Chromebook in 9th grade makes a lot of sense. The 9th grader would use that Chromebook for the next 4 years. So basically it would be theirs while they were a student in Cedar Springs. Similarly, the 6th grader would use that Chromebook, 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. Then at the end of the year, when those students turn them back in, what we do is we take a look at that fleet of Chromebooks. Any of the Chromebooks that still had usable value, we'd rotate those down and replace Chromebooks in our fleet at the elementary level. But then we would also we know that we would need to add some additional Chromebooks at the elementary level on an annual basis as well. But we don't see ourselves needing to replace all of the Chromebooks at the elementary level every year. And so our annual costs, so each Chromebook over its life cycle, you need to plan on it costing somewhere between $325 and $400 over that 4-year cycle. And so we would see ourselves replacing roughly 600 to 700 Chromebooks a year, and at a cost of $300 to $400 per Chromebook. We're looking at a number north of $200,000 annually that we'll have to have available to keep this one-on-one initiative of technology going. And so, that would be a significant portion of the dollars that we were able to raise from a sinking fund. A tremendous amount of that money would go right back into the hands of the students in terms of a one-on-one technology initiative. Our ag science program is going to need a new storage facility or a new pole barn. And so we would definitely be including that as a part of our thinking when it comes to sinking fund plans. And then our auditorium is also in need of some upgrades. There's some damage to the flooring that's occurred over time with water. We've repaired the roof. And so we've gotten the leak taken care of, but now we need to go back through and really resurface the floor or replace the floor on the stage, and also do some sound and lighting enhancements in that space to bring that equipment up to speed. And then lastly, around safety and security and signage, we would want to enhance the district signage so that when people are on campus, when guests are on campus, they find it easier to navigate through our roadways, and also looking to enhance safety and security further with lighting and camera deployment. And so really those are the three big things: student wellness, educational enhancement, and safety and signage that we would see us doing with sinking fund dollars if it passes on November 2. So how do we pay for these investments? Again, a passing of the sinking fund election on November 2, it's going to be an extension of the current 10 mil or 1 mil levy for an additional 10 years through 2031. We would then complete the projects over the next several years as funds become available to us. So ultimately, the decision is in the hands of the voters, as it always is in public schools and public education. Yes vote renews the 1 mil sinking fund for another year or another 10 years. So again, this is the same, basically the same sinking fund that the community passed in 2012. We would just be asking them to pass it or extend it for another 10-year cycle. It provides funding so that the district continue to revitalize and provide technology for each student, and also to increase security. A no vote then reduces the current property tax level by 1 mil, and it would result in a loss of roughly $700,000 on an annual basis to Cedar Springs Public Schools, which would mean that we would have to rely on state funding to do the various repairs and refreshment of district property and district technology. So hopefully you'll see that our focus is on the three primary elements that I talked about at the beginning of this content. First, our students. We want to make sure that our students are experiencing, facilities that help to enhance their day, help them make their academic experience more thriving, more successful, help them grow socially, emotionally, and also in their extracurricular programs as well. Safety and security for both our students, staff, and guests on campus is a critical part of this mission. And then stewards, being good stewards of our resources. We want to make sure that our resources are here for a long time. And in order to do that, similar to the oil change on your car that you have to do every 3,000 to 4,000 miles, it helps to extend the lifetime of the motor. And so for us, the sinking fund dollars will help us extend the lifetime, the life cycle of our facilities, of our buildings and facilities. So again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can send us an email or give us a call. We really want to make sure that you've got the information that you need to make a good decision on November 2. But in the meantime, just know that we appreciate the opportunity to partner with you as a district and as a community. And we're grateful for the opportunity that we have to make a difference in the lives of our students each and every day. So once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and please don't hesitate to reach out with your questions. Thank you. Bye-bye.